And now, Rate That Album, Season 3, with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Two guys who know stuff.
Hi, welcome back to Rate That Album, back and forth album review between myself, Joseph Fremming, and my good friend Paul Muad'Dib. Paul, is this review going to be in the wildest dreams, or are we going to have some bad blood?
I got a blank space with your fucking name on it, Joe.
Yes, I switched the album, but I stuck with the artist from the last review. I said we're going to do Red, but I wanted, because we had a shorter turnaround period for this one, I went with 1989 by Taylor Swift, which was it was her big breakout as a pop artist before she was generally known as a country artist, singer-songwriter. This album came out in 2014, blew the fuck up. You couldn't get away from a lot of these songs. And it put Taylor Swift onto a roller coaster of superstardom. I wanted to talk about Taylor Swift because the plan is we're gonna be talking about this album, and she's now doing her Taylor's versions of her albums, which is the record company that held her masters decided that she could buy them back a few years ago, as long as she did not use disparaging language about the guy who bought the most shares out of the company, Scooter Braun. She didn't agree. And his workaround so she has the rights to the songs, but she does not have the rights to the original masters. So what did she do, Paul? She started re-recording all her old albums.
That's amazing to me, honestly. That is fucking amazing. Like, good for her.
Yeah, like I said, I think this would have been something like if Zappa was alive, he'd have been like, yeah, that's fucking great.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah,
I think Prince, I'm surprised Prince didn't come out for her on this either.
Yeah, it's wild. And, well, she just started this a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
So she's only done, I believe, 2 albums. Red came out last year, her version, and almost immediately it was back on the charts, and it's now kind of pretty much considered the definitive version of that album. Most people seem to be streaming that and listening to that and buying that than the old one, so the label is kind of getting screwed out of it. And this caused such a panic that most labels now are warning artists not to do this.
Really?
Yeah, they're baking it in the contracts now.
Fuck,
they can't re-record it, so they can't have their own masters.
That's so fucking dumb.
Here's the thing: if you want, owning the masters is pretty much where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
Like songwriting credits helps a lot too, but if you own the masters and control those, that's for advertisements, use in movies, use of anything. And the fact that she's re-recording these, so she has control over her body of work, is pretty fucking amazing.
It is. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is absolutely awesome. I applaud her for every step of the way for doing this. Yeah,
it was a shrewd move. I don't think any bands have tried this before. Bands have tried re-recording singles and stuff like that. Usually it's not as good. It's hard to capture lightning in a bottle twice. She somehow did it with Red. For our purposes, we're going to be reviewing 1989, and then I believe whenever it comes out, probably in the next year or so, the Taylor's version, and we're going to discuss what may have worked better, what may not have worked better.
I'm totally down to do that. Yeah. Like, typically we don't go back and redo things, but in this case, I am absolutely intrigued to set it now and then go back and listen to, in the future, go and listen to what she calls her Taylor versions. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, and so far they've been successful. The tricky part of this is, again, this was like lightning in a bottle type of album. It was a pop music kind of juggernaut in a sense.
Oh yeah.
It came out, it was huge. It was the singles and everything, like you couldn't go to a club or anything without hearing like Shake It Off and Bad Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like Blank Space. It was so huge that known creeper Ryan Adams recorded an entire cover album of this. It's not the first time he's ever done that, but it's the first time he's ever released it. That's kind of how I got this fell on my radar, because I was like, what? And I listened to that. Wasn't too impressed with him, but I listened to the lyrics and I was intrigued, and that's what got me onto the Taylor Swift version. Version.
You and I don't typically talk a whole lot. This, I think, which is surprising enough, because given how off the rails the Zappa one was, you and I don't typically talk a lot in between the podcasts. But you had sent me the Ryan Adams today, and I actually listened to it, and I was not a fan of it. And I want to get some of this out of the way if I can, because I had a really interesting conversation with my wife about this particular album, and we were talking about female artists in general, and because we both said, like, this is not our style of music. But I told my wife about the whole Taylor, situation, the story, and she was like, that's really good, blah, blah, blah. I don't think male artists would have to deal with that as much as female artists. And I said, well, there's been precedent there, but you're right. I said, the one thing that I don't want to have this conversation every time we do a female artist, so I want to get it out of the way right now, is one of the things that does bother me is with this album and with the vocals, unfortunately, there is so many of these songs where if you had said to me, who did this song, I would say, God, it could be one of 20 artists. There are certain songs on here that I would say I know is Taylor, because she does that Taylor thing. She has like this signature with the way that she does some of her music, and we'll get into that when we get there. But some of it to me was like, oh my gosh, this could have been this artist, this artist, this artist, this artist, this artist. And my wife said, well, why do you think that is? And she's like, because you don't see that a whole lot with males. And I said, you don't typically with male artists, because they want that uniqueness, that whatever, and you kind of have this thing where you go, oh my gosh, that's that guy. Yep, I know exactly. He's from that band. Like when Chad Kroeger comes on, I know Chad Kroeger. Or Michael Bublé comes on, I know it's Michael Bublé. You know what I mean? And I think part of it is there's this space where I see it because my wife watches like clips from American Idol and America's Got Talent, and I've noticed this repeat where they pick these artists especially the females, that have this sound and hit these notes, and it's very much like kind of this cookie cutter thing. And I don't see, like, how do I put this in another way that we were kind of talking about it, where I said, okay, for example, I said, you had for a while, you had the piano ladies, where it was like Tori Amos and Regina Spektor, and you have a lot of these comparisons that you don't see with male artists as much as you do with female artists. And me and my wife were talking, and again, we both kind of agreed that, because there's a lot of more when it comes to like some of the things like Taylor has done and some of the gossipy stuff, about like her, like with the boyfriends and things like that. Like you see a lot more of them going after our female artists about what they do outside of the music than you see. Like, again, no one gives a fuck what Mick Jagger's doing these days. No one gives a fuck what Ryan Adams is doing out. Like there's this kind of this double standard.
People got whiff of what Ryan Adams was doing. That's why he got canceled.
Well, yes. And there's a canceling, but when I'm she's done like, she's Bon Iver, for example. She's done fucking things with Bon Iver, collaborations with them. No one gives a fuck what Bon Iver is doing, but Taylor Swift, they kind of go after for all these things. And I brought this point up, is that I do think that women tend to be a little bit more tribal when it comes to kind of the gossipy things, where like, you see, and like I said, I don't want to have this conversation every time I do a female artist. That's why I'm just getting this out of the way now. But no one should give a fuck if Taylor. I hear a lot of times where they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's doing a breakup song," or "Oh my gosh, blah blah blah." Oh fuck, she's doing this. Like, no one should really give a fuck. And
the weird thing is too, like, I see that, but I see it mostly coming from guys complaining about her. But another breakup song from Taylor Swift, like. Fucker, what do you think? Like all the Beatles songs were, like,
right?
Like they were fucking man horse, and it's just like because, and I think it goes back to America's fear of sexuality.
It does, but I will say too that I have seen it from the female side as well. I have, and some of that I think comes into play. There is kind of this idea of damned if you do and damned if you don't with females. Like with guys, like I don't give a fuck what you're doing, right? Like I really don't give a fuck what Joe is doing. If you're going out or you're staying home or you got hammered or you did some speedballs, Joe. I really don't give a fuck. It's your life, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't care what the fuck you wore to the bar or what you wore to work. But I do see this damned if you do, damned if you do on the female aspect of it, where going after, well, why is she wearing that on stage? Or, oh my gosh, well, she's obviously, she's wearing this suit pants and things. So obviously she's not, with us on this. Like you can't win, I feel like. And I feel like this is a cultural push that really needs to end. And I think women need to understand that this is a manufactured idea from the gossip magazines and from the gossip practices and, like People and articles like that of this is how a feminist woman is supposed to behave. And then you have on the opposite side, this is how a traditionalist woman is supposed to behave and dress. And when you don't fall in line with these things, both sides attack you for not being whatever. And so I feel like there's more of this conglomerate when it comes to female artists, that very few female artists are afraid to kind of break out of these molds and do these things because, again, it's damned if you do and damned if you do. And I just, I feel like Taylor has been attacked in this way. And, I just think it's very unfair.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's the one who won that MTV Music Award, and Kanye West just straight up interrupts her.
Yeah, and totally dismisses her.
Yeah, dismisses her. Like, yeah, it's very. Paul, I don't know if you've ever known this, but the music industry is pretty sexist.
Oh my God, I had no idea, Joe. Oh my.
But the thing is, I do like.
What have I been doing my whole life?
She addresses this on the album too, which I do enjoy.
Yes. Yes,
she made a hit single out of this kind of like double standard and just like leaning into like this because like guess what, women in their early 20s date around.
No, they don't.
God,
no,
they
don't, Joe. No, they don't. They sit around and they wait for the Mr. Right to come, who is the guy who's sitting there in his apartment right now listening to this, obsessing over it, and has the shrine because one day she is going to do a tour and he's going to be in the front row and she is going to pay attention to him and he is going to give her the life that she never had.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like, I just kind of want to round back, because the, pop songs by women seem to, like you said, blur together. Well, it's starting to do that with the guys too now. Like I couldn't tell you the difference between an Ed Sheeran song and like Harry Styles.
That's a very
to me, like it's all kind of gelling into one homogenous sound. And the record industry now is just like doing it with the guys now. So it's not for the better for anybody.
No, I mean, again, I bring this up because I hate American Idol and like those type of things. I really do, and not because of I'll never be famous on it or whatever. I look at artists like, okay, well, Rod Stewart, you're never going to have a Rod Stewart. I know it's a bad example.
This ugly troll-looking man with a raspy voice.
Yes. Or a Neil Young.
Yeah, you're not.
Will never, I mean, this is for a very specific sliver of music.
Yep.
And this very specific sliver of music, because of the America's Got Talent and American Idol and all these shows, The Voice, whatever, it is now catering this very specific sliver of music is now becoming the mainstream, and we're all stupider for it.
Yeah, music has gotten poorer for it.
I mean, and this is not me getting old. This is me saying it's become the Clear Channel. It's become the everything needs to be cookie cutter. This is why we're putting people on The Voice, and this is why we're putting people on there. There's a YouTuber who was like, came out and said, look, they came to me, wanted me on the show, and said, we won't let you win, but we like what you do online. We want to present you. And like I said, we won't let you win because you're already doing your own music thing, but we need people like you and people who have voices like you. And he came out and said, this whole thing is a terrible thing for music because it really is pushing that this is the only music there should be.
Yeah. They've been trying this for such a long time now, and they finally came into fruition too.
And they figured out how to do it by fucking making it a reality TV show when most of it's scripted. And people just don't realize that. Like, again, you think the camera just happened to be there when they're walking in? Like, they know they're walking in and the camera's already there. Like, use your brain for a second and realize that they wouldn't be putting it there if they weren't expecting this person to come in crying. Like, it's scripted, motherfucker. Like, come on, use your brains a little bit. Turn them back on. All right, there's my rant, Joe. There's my fucking rant. I just had to get that out of the way.
Not really entirely sure what your point was there, Paul. You went off.
My point is that tangents. I feel like my point there is that
you went up on how they sound alike, and into like the sexism, and then yeah, all right, let's keep going.
There was hey, I may be lost down there. The point is that I feel like Taylor Swift has been kind of the impetus for what I was talking about, kind of being, in this way, because with this album and kind of changing on what she did, really, she had a kind of a unique voice, but also in doing what I think is 1989, she did with this pop thing, which great, it worked, it went, whatever. But I also feel like she kind of fell into this trope of, I have to do it this way because this is where the mainstream is, where she, I think, had more of the Taylor signature on the Speak Now and Red. Did that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Well, yeah, this is like one of those left turns too, like Miley Cyrus. We talked with Bangers.
Yep.
She kind of went too far on that one.
Yes.
I think Taylor went maybe not far enough with breaking out of her comfort zone with 1989.
Correct.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, she was generally known as a country artist, and so she did this album. Again, it blew up. Hipsters sneered at it until Ryan Adams did his cover, and then all of a sudden they were like, hey, she might have some talent. And that just kind of goes back into sexism. Yep. A lot of people didn't appreciate this album until a guy did it. You know what I mean? Like,
and I never knew honestly about Ryan Adams' album until you told me about it. I knew about Taylor's. I never knew about Ryan.
Like, people like on boards and on Twitter were like, made me really appreciate this album because I didn't really get into Taylor's version. It's like, fuckers are the same songs.
They are, but I got to admit,
it took a guy to put out the same group of songs for people to be like, hey, maybe Taylor Swift might have some talent.
Well, first of all, I want to say that Ryan's versions were not very good.
No, they weren't, but like it's got people's
good.
Attention, like the indie crowds, like.
Yep.
Unfortunately, what happened? It's just
Jesus fuck. All right.
So, there's all sorts of shit around this. The shitstorm of the industry. Like that's why I wanted to talk about Taylor Swift because it is just a hurricane. And after this, she kind of like goes back. She breaks into like her own again. She goes back to singer songwriter. Her last couple albums were her.
Yep.
With acoustic guitar and shit. Like, but like. Kudos to her, and hey, there's some great songs on here that I still really enjoy. It doesn't stick the landing as well as when I first listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some really good songs on here with really good deliveries and production. Well, and I'm interested in hearing because some of the production lacks for me.
Yep.
And that's why I'm interested in doing the Taylor version when that comes out.
Yeah, I'll be interested to do that. And what I didn't realize was, and this is something I think we should bring up as well, because you had sent me, again, we don't really talk a whole lot, but you sent me some stuff in between where we saw Legal Eagle on YouTube. And if you don't know who Legal Eagle is, you guys are really missing out.
Yeah, he one of my favorite is like he analyzes the court scenes from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh my God.
He did one on Better Call Saul as well, which was pretty interesting. So yeah.
Yeah,
he did one on her pretty much.
And I didn't.
We had Rate That Album. We love it when they say "fuck the bosses." That's
Yes,
why we've discussed Lou Reed and we've discussed Neil Young, and that's why we're discussing Taylor Swift.
100%. And one of the things that's really fascinating to me that I didn't know about until I saw that review was just how much of the money from the sale of the masters, because what happened was the company that owned the masters sold, and the original one wouldn't sell Taylor's to her, even though she offered to buy her masters back, and instead they sold to this company buying, and it was for like something like 300 million, and 178 of that million, so over a half of that million, came from Taylor's catalog.
Yeah,
and so that's why this particular company was never going to sell the masters, because they would have lost over half the value of the masters they had it not been for Taylor. So that kind of, to me, that opened my eyes to just how much of a powerhouse. Like, I'm going to be honest, Taylor Swift has never been on my radar. It's just not my thing. This really opened my eyes to just what a powerhouse she is. Yeah. And just how absolutely, as an artist and as a businesswoman, she is absolutely like top tier. Really. Yeah.
It's like, I can't have my masters, but I can re-record the albums and own those, and then throw Taylor's version on those, so the fans, because she has a rabid fan base like Beyonce, will gravitate towards that and put pressure on companies to not use non-Taylor versions, thus making that investment of Scooter Braun's and
lose half its value.
Lose half its value almost. And her 1989 re-record is just as well received as her Red. That will basically mean their investment was nothing. And legally brought up the good point of, when it comes to, like, some people I think maybe in the audience are wondering, well, what does it matter if she's re-recording it? Can't the companies just go to Scooter Braun's group? They can, but the fan base, the public pressure, this is where soft power comes into hand. Soft power, it's a political term, it's diplomacy sort of thing. Well, fan bases are pretty rabid, and they will protect the artists they respect. They are not going to go out of their way for Big Machine music on this.
No,
they're going to attack it.
And the other thing is, you have to understand that Big Machine music only has a back catalog. So if they make a deal with them, there's no future music in the work. So,
which is the genius of what this is.
Yes, which is what the genius of this is, because now the people are going to want to work with Taylor, because Taylor is not only re-recording her stuff, but she's also putting out new stuff. So if they make a deal with Taylor and, like, hey, we want this, then that opens the door for music and commercials and all these things to then have access to her newer stuff. Whereas if they go with Machine, Big Music Machine, and she finds out that they didn't come to her, they used, say, something off of Red, or let's say this one, let's say they use Welcome to New York, and then they come to her later for a project because they really like a song on one of her new albums that comes out in 2025, and she's like, sorry, you didn't come to me to
so it's brilliant, and it's
brilliant.
And again, I'm really interested in seeing, because again, this production on this album, as we'll discuss as we get into it, is very much of its time. her past ones, re-recordings, have been pretty much straightforward, but have sounded a lot richer because she has more time and more resources to actually do a better production on it. So again, I'm very interested in hearing how
the change,
because I feel like the production at least will probably sound a lot richer.
Oh,
like if you listen to All Too Well from Red and then her version, the Taylor's version just blows it out of the water.
Well, you've had advances in music, in production, and things of that nature over the years.
Her voice has gotten stronger as she's gotten older too.
Nailed it.
She has more confidence in herself.
Yep.
As like 1989, there's confidence, but she's still testing the waters here, which will be another interesting dynamic, I think, when we get to that, to see, like, does she still sound kind of like a blob of what was at this time, like Katy Perry's and
yes, and
or will she make it kind of more her own? That'll be another interesting thing. We'll be kind of getting into that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say there is, again, as someone who's recorded music before and recorded albums, you'll make mistakes sometimes. And I'll be honest with you, you're doing take 50 whatever, in a day. And sometimes you'll be like, you know what, that was close enough, and you'll be like, no one will catch that. I'll know it's there, but no one's going to catch that mistake. So this is also a chance for her to go back through and there's anything that she didn't like on a music switch, or a note here, or a note that she felt was left off, something, she can make that adjust. So she's also got hindsight into it as well. Yep. So that's also another great thing for her to do. I do wish actually more artists would go back. Like, I think this should be a thing that artists do.
Well, the labels are making sure they don't do that, Paul.
Fuck the labels.
I wonder why. Why, after what we just discussed the past 5-10 minutes, I wonder why they're going to be cracking down on that.
Well, you know what? I mean, again, as a guy who almost got fucked by a record company, I say, you know what? Fuck them. Do what you're going to do. And it's given me, I think, because you do have the two different, and as long as people understand that you have the two different copyrights, one being the songwriting and one being the master, at the end of the day, I don't even know if they could legally, if someone were to challenge it, if they can, like, there's no legal press. I mean, there's no way that the courts are going to go with the music company on Taylor Swift doing this.
No,
and artists doing something like this.
Baked in, like, that she could do it. They're going to, but you're going to see more music contracts say, putting a kibosh on this going forward.
Jesus fucking Christ. All right. Well, all right. But Joe, God damn it. We did a lot. Yep. Let's get into it. Let's get the
All right. Let's start with track 1, Welcome to New York, which is a perfectly fine pop song. Like you said, it kind of suffers with her voice kind of just sounding. Again, that's kind of like, she has a good voice.
She does.
And it shines like on her newer stuff. So like when she's younger, obviously, maybe trying to emulate what was popular at the time. Again, this was her trying to break away from the country.
Right. This was her using the templates of pop that were out in 2014 and running with it. Yep.
So she ran with it with the help of like really good, solid people. I think Linda Perry from Four Non Blondes was
awesome.
Co-wrote a lot of this stuff with her. Again, Taylor Swift does write her own music. People need to. She's not a studio Frankenstein. She does write her music. So
good for her.
But so this is perfectly fine as an intro, I think.
It's what, I'll be honest. It's fine, and actually, my 4-year-old is absolutely in love with the song.
Yeah, I mean, it's here. We've brought it up before. I'm a sucker for female pop music.
Yes, you are.
This is my wheelhouse right here, man. Like I love this album, but like again, I can see the flaws when they pop up. But when we get to the next track, I don't see flaws because I fucking love Blank Space, which flips the script of she's very self-aware at this time when she was being called out for all the guys she's dating.
Yeah.
And writing breakup songs. This is a very tongue-in-cheek reaction to that. Paul, what do you think of Blank Space?
Well, I want to get that real quick. I just want to say one more thing about Welcome to New York is that one of the downsides to it was, though, and this is a thing for me, is kind of, how I'm big on vocals and how there's a lot of things being repeated. And I will say that my 4-year-old heard the song 3 times and was able to sing along with it. So
But that's the thing with pop music as opposed to, Frank Zappa. Is the point of pop is the earworm it right into you.
Yep, and I will say that the fact that my 4-year-old was already singing along by the third listen, it worked. Like better or worse.
It's a pop song, but there's not a whole lot of weight to it.
So Blank Space.
Blank Space is a song that does have a little weight to it, Paul.
It does. Lyrically, I very much enjoy the song. Very much enjoy the song. Production wise, and there's things about it that I don't like and don't understand. Again, though, I'm gonna be very, very clear here. This is not my wheelhouse of an album. Okay. I'm gonna come out and say that right now. So, like, for me, I have to separate my personal preference with my critical preference of it. Again, lyrically, this is a really fucking strong song.
It's just kind of eviscerating that public persona of her, which I really enjoy. Like,
I do.
It feels empowering, and then it's baked into like a pop song very much of the time.
Very much of the time.
But that's how a lot of like really good songs kind of get out. You know what I mean? Like, sneak messages out there.
I don't even think. I mean, I remember the video for this one. She wasn't even being sneaky about it. Like,
no, she was not.
This was her like being up in front. I'll tell you the one thing that throws me out every time in this song is when it gets to the because I know I love the players and you love the game. Like when it goes to like that weird, echoey, like anthem-y thing, like that drives me nuts. And I just didn't feel like. I mean, I know why it's there because it's part of the time. Yeah. But 8 years later. That's where
everybody at the club starts dancing.
Yeah. And 8 years later, I don't think it really mixes with what the lyrical content is. Now, I'm sure when she redoes it, she's going to keep it. And that's totally fine. But yeah, I do very much lyrically love this song.
I love the concept. Yeah. Again, it's like whenever we talk about pop music, it's just very much of its time. It's like, if we reviewed, say, Beatles' Hard Day's Night, that would be my complaint about it too.
Absolutely.
Sounds very much of the 60s.
It's very much, it's a pop 60s song. Sounds like every 30 other artists that were out there at the time. Yeah. It really does.
Yeah. It's not like, so we're just making these general observations. And like, for me, for you, it might take away. For me, whatever, like I'm just like it's of the time, whatever. I can still enjoy it, but like you sometimes production things really age poorly. Yes. Like one of those like I really can't stand is like the Nirvana drone.
Yes,
it's one of those things that just really made everything sound the 90s. But it's like we all have our quirks and all have our things. Quirks. We all have our quirks, but I can see why you wouldn't like that echoey thing. And I understand why they put it. It'll be interesting to see how she.
Yeah, and I understand.
She'll probably keep it, but like I don't know. Maybe her voice will be stronger, which might make it pop a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. No. And again, she might change around or do whatever, and she might update it a little bit. But again, she might want to keep it the same because it was very successful the way that it was.
You know what I'd like to hear would be an acoustic of all these songs.
That'd be brilliant because I think they're
kind of like what Ryan Adams did, but not like.
Not Ryan Adams.
Not done by a giant piece of shit.
Well, it just wasn't very good. Again, it
wasn't good. It
wasn't good. He put notes in places to try and separate it that just didn't work. But the other thing I love lyrically about this is the fact that she owns like what she is and or like what the perception of her was, which was. She dates people for a short period of time and goes nuts and then writes songs about them. That was very much the thing.
It's called being in your 20s, people.
It's called being a musical artist in your 20s. Yeah. And the fact that again, you look at and every one of those guys who are like, oh my God, again, this is not my wheelhouse of an album. This is not. But I would be a fucking hypocrite if I didn't also call out, which weren't my things either, the butt rock of the 80s. And all of those songs were a bunch of fucking breakup songs. Like, oh my God, all the fucking ballads.
Hey, man.
That
Pre-Revolver, all the Beatles songs were breakup songs.
Right.
Rolling Stones, whatever. It's breakup songs.
Breakup songs.
It's the universal go-to. It's what people know at this age.
Well,
like you write what you know for the most part.
Yep, and it's a great way to, because again, it's also a clever and, well, not even clever anymore. It's a well-known way of connecting with a young audience.
Yeah.
Early, because they are going through that right now, and they have that naivety that about it.
Even when you get older, you still go through heartbreaks, man. Like 100%. It happens. Like you'll be able to relate to songs and shit like that, like.
Yep. So
it may be like, the cheat code for music, but it works.
It does work. It's the cheat
code. Why Lemonade worked.
100. Oh my God. And I will say that Taylor is going through some shit on this album.
Yeah. So, like if you.
Yeah.
I kind of wished we would have done Red, but I just didn't have time to go through 30 songs because the Taylor versions of these albums are 30 songs. Like she doubles it because she has stuff in like she was working on at the time that she's re-recording for these. So when we do 1989 Taylor's version, it's good chance it's going to be like a 2-hour long album as opposed to 40 minutes, 48 minutes. So yeah. So she's also giving music buyers a bang for their buck.
100%.
Now we go into Style, which is, I like the story, but for me, it's one of those, I like it because the production is different.
Yes.
It feels like more like, this is not a single, but so I feel like weirdly enough, they put more interesting production into it where it flows like a night song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
this is a song you'd listen to driving on a highway at night.
Yep, absolutely. Like right away when it opens up with Midnight, you come pick me up, no headlights.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it definitely has that.
Yeah, it just kind of matches it. Like, I like that. I like it. It's weird. It's weird.
It is weird.
It's not a hit single, but I like the production, but I don't really care for the production on a lot of the hit singles.
No, and one of the interesting things, and again, we didn't go lyric by lyric like we typically do, but with this one, I'm going to, because again, the first two songs, the first two songs. I'm sorry. Yeah. Welcome to New York, and Blank Space.
Yeah.
If you don't, you've been living
almost
under
a decade now. People know these songs.
Yeah. So Style, though, one of the ones that really stood out to me lyrically was when she's talking about the lights are off, he takes off his coat. I said, "Oh, I heard, you've been out and about with some other girl. And he says, what you heard is true, but I can't stop thinking about you. I said, I've been there too a few times. Like, this is a really interesting song about, because I know someone personally to me, I'm not going to call them out on this podcast because that would not be fair because I don't know what's happening right now, but they're going through some shit in a relationship.
Yeah.
And this is something that is actually gone on with them.
I got into this album when my marriage was falling apart. So maybe that would kind of explain why I gravitate toward it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with lyrics like this, like, because I was relating to, especially this song.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it was like, it's like, it does hit a nerve, and fuck, man, she can write a song.
She can write a song. She can write a fucking song. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I was going through this, and I often joke that my wife left me because I became a Taylor Swift fan. It's not true, but I'll still say that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, kind of like punk rock girl, though. She's I get it.
But yeah, no, it's like a lot of these songs are about a fucked up relationship, and that's what she knew at the time, and she had a very good knack of creating scenarios in these songs where we can picture this, and
she's really
we've
good.
Either been there or we've known people who have been in these situations.
Mm-hmm. She's very good at making lyrical scenarios.
Yeah,
and this is not a talent that a lot of musicians have.
No, they're usually too on the nose. They don't create like character. Like you can picture these characters. She gets very descriptive
100%.
the James Dean looking guy.
I have an image in my head specifically when I'm listening to this where it's dark out. They're in like they're like in a apartment complex. I can see what he's wearing. I can see where she's sitting. I can see the bedroom. Like I can see it's like a book. When I'm hearing these lyrics, I can create the scenario in this song. Yep.
Yeah. So then we get into Out of the Woods. Kind of feels to me like almost like a companion.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yes.
This is the outcome of that relationship. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just how I picture it in my head or whatever. Like I've had this. I've heard this album so many times that I'm just, it's weird going back and listening. So yeah, it feels like are we out of the woods yet?
Mm-hmm. There's definitely a theme here, and I don't know if it was written about one specific person or two specific people, but there's definitely a culprit.
Yeah, there's a culprit. It could be, just a combination of them all. It's not like All Too Well, where that's very clearly about Jake Gyllenhaal, right. Which he's apparently not too happy that album made a huge comeback last year.
No.
But hey, man, like if your ex writes songs like these and you feel like you contributed to it, like maybe you were also a little part of this problem.
Maybe you're
part maybe it's not all on Taylor.
Yeah, maybe you were part of the problem.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that one.
She seems to be pretty open about how she's also parts of the problem.
And that I really fucking respect. Like she's very, very insightful. Yeah. And like I said, there is an intelligence in this album that in listening to it, I will admit, I never would have gathered from Taylor Swift. Like just from being an outside, not a Taylor Swift fan, I never would have imagined that there'd be this kind of intelligence on a pop album. And I will definitely give it that. However, Out of the Woods Yet falls into one of the things I really fucking hate, which is the repeating of words over and over. And again, I get it. It's 2014. It's a club. But to me, musically, I actually don't think it's that bad. Like where you were with the Zappa album, where I feel like this is a very front-loaded.
Yeah, this is very front-loaded.
It's a very front-loaded album where there's some, like the first so many songs are really good. Even with my complaints about them, they're more nitpicks than they are being bad songs.
Yeah.
And this is one of those songs where but again, then she gets in the story. Remember when you hit the brakes too soon, 20 stitches in that hospital room. When you started crying, I did too. Like, God damn it. Like,
yeah, she's, again, creating imagery. Which I wish more artists or songwriters would do.
Yep.
It feels like it's becoming a lost art. And that's why this is like, she's one of those artists. Like, I remember somebody once telling me, you can tell if a pop song or a rock song is good as if they could play it acoustic and it would sound just as good. And I think a lot of these songs could do that.
I completely,
I don't know about all of them, but I think a lot of them, like imagine Style on acoustic.
That'd be really interesting. Style on acoustic would be a really good listen.
I think that would be that would take you on a journey, man.
Yeah, I think it would. I absolutely think it would. But yeah, no, there's the imagery on this is really good in like when it's there, but it's the chorus that is very much lacking for me on this particular track.
Yeah, and again,
and overall,
she's aiming at club shit, and I get it. And that was like my complaint with Miley Cyrus too. It's like, I get this is what you're aiming at, but sometimes you're not hitting the mark.
Yep. And
you're not hitting the mark for me. I get the club people probably love that more than Style. Like we're all like, yeah, Style and all these, and then it's like people are like,
are we out of the woods? Are we out of the woods?
It's all about shake it off, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Good talk.
Yeah. Good talk. Yeah. No. Yep. Okay. All right. So next, we got what is it? All You Had to Do Was Stay.
Yep. This is another one I actually like because it's not really much of a club banger, I guess.
Yep. I completely agree.
And again, it's like another kind of story song, and she's going. I think Taylor Swift. I think she did record this at 24, Paul. I think she was going through some shit.
I think she was going through some shit. I think she was absolutely going through some shit. Yeah.
Like, she's completely reinventing herself. Like, she was singer-songwriter, country artist. She got signed when she was like
15.
early teens, I think.
15? 15. I think she was 15 when she got signed,
and she was
knowing what I know.
Writing her own music, and that kind of, imagine bucked the Nashville shit, because they don't care for that.
Well, no, and we can get her politics at the end, and they really don't like her now.
That's fine. They don't like the Dixie Chicks, and they don't like Hank 3, and they don't like anything outside of the Nashville. That's why Nashville just creates horseshit over and over and over again.
I cannot do modern country. Like 95, 96% of modern country, I cannot fucking handle. I refuse to listen to it. And it's so difficult because it's like growing up, especially where we grew up, 90% of the radio stations were fucking country.
Yeah, and I lived in Worthington from 2010 to 2012. Whenever I drove back to St. Cloud, I could only get radio stations that were country, and it drove me up the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's fucking terrible. It's such a shitty genre now. But yeah, this one, it's, she's going through some shit. Again, I love the imagery that she's given, in these things. There is a lot of repeat, I will say, on this one, though. A lot of repeating of the lyrics. Yep. And that's a very difficult thing for me, like I said. And again, there is that 2014 Katy Perry, Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, artists production on this. Yeah. And that's very difficult for me. Let's go to Shake It Off, Joe.
Actually, I do like Shake It Off. I love the drums on this. It's a pop song. It's very repetitive because that's pop music in a nutshell. But it does have imagery in this too. Where she's talking about her ex-boyfriend introduces her to his new girlfriend. Like we've all been in that situation.
We have.
It was not a good break, and you have this shit going on. So again, snuck into like a fucking drum-driven pop song. You're still getting like these little imagery. Like she's sneaking it in, Paul. She's just sneaking it in there.
She is.
She's all sneaky about it.
And I do say, she again is owning. This is another one of those songs where she's owning her reputation.
Yeah.
Which I think is very, very playful, and I think it's good. Yeah. Unfortunately, for me, I hate the song. I do. This is like what I dislike in music. And I know this is crazy, and it's not just me being because the song is popular, I have to dislike it. There is just something about the drums are fine, but there's something about the beat with it that just I don't like the whole play, hate, shake. And this also feels to me like not even a club song. It feels to me like a high school basketball or high school sports song.
Which is apropos because it's played at sporting events.
Yes, this is a sports song.
Which, it's like Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. Like some songs just get...
Yep, some songs just get picked. But this does feel like a song just
it's intentionally to be like that.
It's intentional. It's 100% intentional. I mean, it definitely feels like again, the imagery of the song with the drums to me immediately goes to a gymnasium. It immediately goes to a gymnasium. And that's not, and again, I don't go to sporting events. I don't go to things like that. So I didn't know that they picked this up as a sports song.
They've picked all sorts of songs. They got to fill time at those fucking events, Paul.
They do. But yeah, immediately, like when the drums start kicking in, it sounds to me like the way the reverb is and the echoing of it feels like drums in a gymnasium. And I feel like that imagery is there. And this is definitely a song that I think like a high school dance team would dance to.
Well, if you've seen the video, it's very much the point.
Oh, is it?
All this, yes, it's very much.
Okay, I don't
how the
remember
song
the
was
video.
envisioned. I imagine. It's very much that.
I honestly don't remember the video. So yeah. So maybe that's why I have that subconsciously. Like I have the music video in my head. I honestly don't remember the music video. So that's probably a subconscious nitpick. But I get why people like it. Yeah. I'm not gonna hate on you for liking it. I get it. It's poppy as fuck. It's there. It's just not my thing.
Nope.
Yeah.
And next we have "I Wish You Would," which again, like I'm really liking the more non-hit songs on this.
I do. I actually really I liked this. Like this was a song like after "Shake It Off" came on, and this came on. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
I like she's balancing it just for you, Paul.
Kinda. Like
here's the pop song that you're going to groan through, but hey, here's this more visual song that you can just see the story unfold.
Yeah, she definitely is. She's doing a really interesting amalgamation of her moving the pop, but still having her singer-songwriter roots in here.
Yeah.
Which I think is very smart. And again, this song, again, I can see the story she's painting. I can see what she's doing. And yeah, I like this. I like this one. Yep.
Yeah. Then we go back into the club.
Yep. This does nothing for me.
Bad Blood. Yeah.
Yep.
Allegedly written about Katy Perry. Don't get Taylor Swift's the modern day Phil Collins. Just don't get on her bad side.
Okay, I didn't know. Well, hang on. I did not know this was about Katy Perry.
Allegedly. I'm putting allegedly.
Okay. Let's. Yeah, sorry. Let's allegedly. I did not know
allegedly this was written about Katy Perry. They had a falling out or something. I don't know the whole story because I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't care.
But I just remember I watched a lot of like videos on people analyzing music, and this guy brought it up, and I was like, huh. And then I just went about my day.
Okay.
But yeah, he kind of brought it up because he was reviewing a Katy Perry album. Like it's a YouTube channel called Train Records.
Okay.
And this guy just goes into pop albums and like really bizarre pop albums, and like Katy Perry was like, she put out this horrible album after 1989 came out, trying to be all feminist and political and firing back, and it just didn't work.
Katy Perry did?
Yeah, Katy Perry did.
I had no idea.
Like apparently, she got maybe she got psychologically wrecked by Taylor Swift. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, Taylor Swift is the modern day Phil Collins. Just don't get on her bad.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. I think that's a great title for her. The Mrs. Phil Collins.
This is followed by The Wildest Dreams. This is a nice little song. Like again, I gravitate more towards the non because I hear those. I've heard them so often.
I have to admit, Joe, at this point, this is where the album drops for me. Yeah. And this starts
filler. It feels like
the rest of the album to me feels like filler. Yeah. And I'm gonna be like where you were with the Zappa album, where like it started to just kind of like jumble to me. It was really, really difficult for me to discern. And again, I would listen to this album all week, but still it's very difficult for me to discern what Wildest Dreams sounded like versus what This Love sounded like. Like it's
this was just Wildest Dreams up until Clean. They're all slow songs.
There's lyrically again. These are smart songs.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me, I think what was obviously, which doesn't typically work, at least in my mind, which was working for it, was club slow, club slow, club slow.
The more up tempo followed by the more stayed or maybe down tempo stuff. But then this just goes down tempo.
It just goes down tempo. And for a pop album, and I'm gonna guess when she comes out with the new version of it, Taylor's version, she's gonna there's gonna be some stuff put in here and new stuff, as we talked about, with being, last one being where it was, which I think will help with some of these songs, because I don't mean to be as negative as I'm sounding with it, because lyrically they're good, but it's just for whatever reason, I think I blame the production. I really, really do. It's hard to discern kind of each song having its own feel at this point, where it's more, to me, more of the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's also, the track listing, like when you go so top heavy.
And it's very top heavy.
Like, if they would have, like, spread that out, you didn't need blank space right after Welcome to New York. Throw fucking Clean or This Love up there,
Exactly.
Like, stretch it out a bit. Give people time to breathe in between the hits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mark my words, they knew a lot of these songs were hits. Like, people recording albums like, oh, we just don't know. You kind of have a good idea.
You have a good
idea Shake It Off's going to be a hit.
Yeah. No, you know what you're doing there. Do it all and then end the album with Bad Blood. There you go. Yeah.
Like, just pad it out, then you go out on a banger, and that's it. It ends with Clean, which is, my understanding, at least, a song about sobriety.
Yeah, that's what I gathered.
What I got of it, move it up.
Yeah, move it up.
Put it after Style or Out of the Woods.
Yeah, and I will say, again, this is a 13
it seems like a more serious song. Like, it gets to, like, the serious songs, but again, the production doesn't do them any favors.
Yep. No,
she's not really doing anything to make them stand out. Hopefully, maybe she'll rectify that. I don't know.
Well, and again, to me, it was a 13-track album, and really, it could have been an 8 or 9-track album, and still, I think would have been absolutely as successful as it was. It would have made the same amount of money, in my mind, if it had been a 9-track album versus a 13-track album. Do you disagree?
Well, maybe not for her. She got the songwriting credits. The more credit she has on there, the more money she's going to get.
That's a good point. That's
why bands will pad out albums. That's a secret of the industry. They don't tell you.
Yep, and that was
why they
have
to make it so it's not just an EP. They got to put it out as an LP, and it has to hit a certain amount of minutes.
Yep. No, that's a good point, and that's also one of the tricks. Oh, sorry, you're going to have that pop sounding in because I was playing with my goddamn babe. Paul McCartney and John Lennon. That's why they had dual credits on it as well. Yep. It was a money thing, and so yeah, I mean, artists will do that, but we could keep going. By all means, we could keep going. I'm just letting you know.
No, it's fine. We can just, like, again, like, I think there's a lot of This Love I like a bit. Again, like,
This Love was
a good song. Like, because I'm so used to the top half of this, Paul.
Me too.
Is that when I started re-listening to this for the review, I started after Bad Blood to listen to these songs.
Sure.
Because they started kind of blending, and they stand out a little better that way. They're strong enough songs, but it's just how this album is sequenced. They're left as like an afterthought, which I think it does them injustice. I think This Love and How You Get the Girl and Wildest Dreams, like, they're slower songs. You can't really have 5 slower songs to cap out an album.
Not when you've had bangers like fucking Bad Blood and Shake It Off.
And honestly, I like these songs better when I just ignored the first half of the album.
I should have done that list this because we always
have the next album. Because we're going to be doing this album again.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this album again. Well, not this album, but the next. But
the Taylor's version. Maybe that will be a nice experiment to see both of us listening to the last half of this album first and then going, because we're already going to know the bangers.
And the thing is that I didn't realize how many of these songs I knew off this album. Like, that's the other thing. Like, when we did this, I was like, okay, cool. I've never heard this album before. And I honestly didn't even look at the track listing. I just put it in and started driving when I was listening to it. Because, again, you had messaged me, hey, we're going to switch it to 1989. I was like, whatever. So I just put it in my phone. And then I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh, I know this song. I'm like, oh, okay, Blank Space is on this album. Okay. Oh, Styles. Okay. Oh, Shake It Off's on this album. Okay. Oh, Bad Blood's on the. Yeah. I was like, okay. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's how I'm probably going to approach.
I will do the
Because
same
again,
thing.
it helped a lot because I was like, again, when I was listening all the way through, I was really getting exhausted by After Bad Blood, like you. And so I started, when I was running errands today, I started the album with Wildest Dreams and all the way to Clean, and I'd listen to those instead of the first half. And those songs are a lot stronger than I remember because those are the ones I'm hearing right away.
Yep. And you're
I
not
think
comparing
it's a
it.
problem of sequencing.
And I don't think people understand just how important sequencing, like, I'm sure some of our audience does, but sequencing is huge. And I know for a fact I brought this up on one of our other podcasts, which was Radiohead's final album. It's they're pretty much. I was read an article where they're done, and what was it? Pale Moon. I have it.
Yeah.
And it was alphabetical, not done, which was like, what the fuck, Radiohead? Like, they've never done that. Like, Radiohead has always been very much about sequencing.
That's why I
And
love OK Computer, Kid A, and Amnesiac so much. They're sequenced so beautifully.
sequencing a moon-shaped pool. That's what it is. A moon-shaped pool. And they're done alphabetically, and it's actually what I feel is their weakest album. Like, you listen to some of the songs, there's some great songs on that album, but when you listen to it as an album, it fucking sucks. It's it's a chore because it's alphabetical order.
Yeah, it again, sequencing is so important. And then again, when I was listening, the sequencing for Wildest Dreams, like, if this was just an EP that came out separate, so it would say this album goes up to Bad Blood, and then you do Wildest Dreams to Clean as an EP, it would be a fucking phenomenal EP because you'd be like, wow, she's really serious and singer-songwriter on this.
Boom.
Because it is, but since it's getting tagged on at the end, I think it gets overlooked.
It
overlooked to me because, like, when I sat through the album, going from Welcome to New York all the way to the end, I check out after Bad Blood.
Yep, I checked out too, like, just mentally, and I wasn't trying to. Again, I listen to these things a minimum of 3 times, and when I'm out driving, there's days where I will just play these things on repeat, especially the day of the podcast. Mm-hmm. I will just do nothing, and I drive for a lot of my work, so I have nothing but time in between my stops that I can listen to these albums. I can listen to this. Yeah. And I have to admit that every fucking time, Joe, after Bad Blood, my brain was just like, okay. But it's a sequencing problem, not a problem with the tracks itself.
Yeah, the tracks themselves are really beautifully done, and I like them a lot. And actually, I started liking them more because I did it that way today. And I started paying more attention to them because they're back more in the singer-songwriting stuff that she was doing before. They're not really clubby hits. They're more personal songs. And I think that's why I liked them more because I'm exhausted. Like, pop music a lot of times exhausts me. It's like Joe's Garage exhausts me. Like, you're giving me stimuli overload at some point.
Yep.
And that's it's just like when I get kind of burnt out after a while.
100%.
Like, if I'm hearing all this like super poppy, boom, 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 and then to like slow songs, I'm checking out.
Yeah,
like my brain has to readjust.
Yep, absolutely. So, So I guess I think that's where we're at. Joe, I guess, do you want to discuss any more of it? Of the songs?
No, I think we covered it.
I'm willing to listen. I'm here, buddy. I'm here.
No, man. No, we're good. We good.
So I guess, Aftermath is obviously, we kind of discussed a little bit about it. This blew up her career into superstardom. She lost the respect of some of the country aspect of it. Yeah. One of the things I will say was that I thought Taylor was very smart for a lot of her career of staying out of politics. And it wasn't until Trump.
Yeah. I think Trump could have forced everybody's hand.
A lot of people came out you got to understand that a lot of people came out during Trump. Like Trump polarized. Whether you're listening to this and you're a Trump fan or not, you have to understand the polarization that Trump caused. And that's, again, good or bad. That's just a fact. And people like Taylor Swift, who were very much neutral, came out and went, I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dolly Parton, after 50 years in the business, came out and was kind of,
Yep. And Taylor had said that she was against discussing politics by her label. She was told not to do it by her label because specifically of the Dixie Chicks controversy.
Yeah.
And so
before conservatives, because I have my complaints about cancel culture, me and Paul
you and I,
for these, before you conservatives are like, oh, cancel culture, you guys had that market cornered for a very long time.
Let's be very, 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 very fair. Like, again, we went into the whole Frank Zappa story last time. You guys had cancel culture wrapped up for a long time. Yeah. It was very much a bipartisan thing. Okay, the PMRC was not just a Democrat-run fucking thing. Yep. There was a lot of bipartisan on that fucking deal. And then the liberals kind of backed off, rightfully so, because they're liberals on the situation, and Republicans and conservatives cornered that market. And I don't know when the flip-flop fucking happened, but I'm not exactly thrilled about it.
No, neither am I. So that was our first half in our foray of Taylor Swift. This will have the Taylor's version of 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the fuck that comes out. But for now, we'll just do our recommendations. Paul, would you recommend it? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Well, here's my thing. Again, I'm going to I do this a lot. I'll recommend it with a caveat. It is, if this is not your thing, like this is not going to change. Like it's well done. Like, don't get me wrong, the songs are really strong. Those songs are really good. However, and again, I'm separating my personal from my critiquing here. Personally, no, but from a critical point of view, yes. But if pop music is not your thing, if this style of music is not your thing, there's nothing here that's going to change you into going, oh man, that's really there. Except I will say maybe style. All you gotta do is stay out of the woods. Again, those songs, those lesser known songs in that first part of that album, I Wish You Would, are actually very strong songs, and I think worthy of being listened to. And as Joe has said, the back half, again, they muddled to me, but that's more of as we said, a sequencing issue. So I would say if this is something that, like, if you've ever been curious about it, go for it, but it's not going to change, I don't think, anyone's mind or anything like that. Like, again, my 4-year-old was all about it. But me and my wife, we both were like, this is not our bag. But I will make the recommendation out there that if you haven't heard it and you are in the pop music and for whatever reason you haven't heard the full album, then yes, go fucking listen to it.
Yes, that kind of happened to me. This is why I'll recommend it. But what happened to me when I started listening to this in 2015 is, like, I just hadn't listened to pop music. It kind of turned me off for whatever reason, plus whatever. And I was going through some shit, and this album got me back into it, made me feel like I was not acting myself the last few years of my marriage. Like, I was kind of putting on a facade.
Yep.
And this kind of, like, awakened me, like, I like this music. Why did I stop listening to this music? Oh, yeah, because the other person didn't like me listening to this music. So that was like, it kind of, like, it got me back in. It kind of gave me that, I like this music, goddamn it. I'm not going to be ashamed of it.
And you shouldn't be. And that's...
No, nobody should ever be ashamed of whatever music they listen to. Like, we critique on here, but fuck. like what you like. It's entertainment.
It's entertainment.
We're just two guys who know stuff.
Yeah, we're just two guys who know stuff. And again, that's why I say even the stuff that we don't recommend, like I can't recommend or Joe can't recommend, still it's something to listen to. Again, I love like terrible Z-grade movies. Like straight up, Joe, I watched Frankenhooker earlier this week.
Oh, I watched that not too long ago. I watched it on Shudder.
Yes,
Joe Bob Briggs did a Last Drive-In episode of Frankenhooker.
Fantastic.
He had I forget if he had the director on that or not. Yeah, he did. He had the director, or no, I forget. But it's a good. Frankenhooker's a solid movie.
But you can't really call it a solid movie, though. That's the thing. Like
I can, and I just did.
Yes, but there are people who will look at it and be like, "That is so lowbrow, whatever." Right. So my point is I can enjoy the Oscar movies and I can enjoy the lowbrow stuff. Like I can enjoy, whatever. So again, whether we're recommending or not, I hope that when you guys are listening to our podcast, you're at least checking out some of these songs so you kind of can know what we're talking about and listening to. And I forget which song it is, and this is me being awful. There is a song on here where she does a signature thing that Taylor does. And it's this, fuck. I can't remember which song it is, but you can definitely tell that it's a Taylor Swift. But yeah, my other complaint with it is again, there is some of this stuff on here, some of those more popular ones where it could have been Katy Perry, it could have been 100 different artists, like 100 different female artists that sang it. So, but yes, I will say I'll recommend it with that caveat, Joe.
Yeah. I'll recommend it too, and I'll also recommend Frankenhooker. If you can't appreciate when she goes back into the whorehouse and
if you can't appreciate
kills everybody.
If you can't appreciate Super Crack, then I don't know. I don't know what I can do for you.
Oh my god. I love it so much.
Fucking making Super Crack. Like if you can't get behind that, I don't know what you can get behind, people. So Joe, what do you guys got going on at the Joe Down, buddy?
We finished our review today of Sudden Death. Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Brown forgot. Apparently it was Sports Month because he picked a movie that he picked a Die Hard ripoff that happened to be at a hockey game.
Yep, son. That's right. That's him at a hockey game. Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. So that's awesome. So we'll see that one soon. I do remember that movie.
Yep. So that'll be out later this week.
Yeah, with Powers Booth.
I love Powers Booth.
Everyone loves Powers Booth. All right. Well, Joe, you gonna ask me what we're doing next week?
What are we doing next week?
Well, so we actually, and I was hoping that I would have gotten a message back, but someone had sent me a message, or we talked about an artist. So I'm not gonna. We did have a fan request, but I have to get the album name, so we won't be doing that one. Joe, I'm gonna do what you did to me. I'm gonna give you an A and a B. So pick A or B, sir.
B.
Okay, we are doing a music collective, led by Ivo Watts Russell, founder of a British record label, 4AD. We are doing their debut album from their project that they call themselves This Mortal Coil. And it's going to be the album It'll End in Tears.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this at all?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So interestingly enough, real quick, A4D was a label that had several different artists on it. And one of the things that the founder had wanted to do was bring in artists that were on the label in as this band called This Mortal Coil, and create music. So for this one, there's a lot of covers on it, but it had Elizabeth Fraser, who's a well-known, I can never say it right. Was it the Cocteau Twins? Is that what it was pronounced, Joe?
Yep, Cocteau Twins.
Yeah, the Cocteau Twins. It had one of the guitarists from the Cocteau Twins. It's Robin Guthrie. It had Simon Raymond, who was also on them. It had vocals from Dead Can Dance. It had members of I believe the Pixies on here. Or people that have been involved with that. So yeah, like there's some. So on this particular album, there's a lot of covers. There's quite a few Alex Chilton covers, and a lot of things that were done. So this will be a really interesting one, and I think it will be kind of cool because it's something I've always kind of talked about that we've discussed, like going into labels, and we could kind of discuss what this label is and kind of what they did. And this was, so they did, I think it was 3 albums as this Mortal Coil, and each one had a completely different collection of artists on it. From the label working on songs. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. All right. Fuck. I got a question for we're still in the air before we go. So Joe, what did you think of our, did you get a chance to listen to our almost 2-hour Frank Zappa podcast?
Yeah. Disappointed there's only one guitar solo in there.
2. There's 2 guitar solos in there, sir.
Yeah. I don't believe that. I heard one.
Oh, there's 2, you son of a bitch. All right. Yeah, we were off the rails on that one. It is what it is. But no, I appreciate the fact that, again, you had me go into this Taylor Swift territory, because I never would have, honestly, without
That's what it's all about, man. We're getting out of our comfort zones.
100%. 100%. So I hope our audience is doing the same thing. Joe, do you want to take us out, sir?
I'd rather not.
What?
This has been Rate That Album with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Thank you for listening.